symbolism to find out exactly, and from art, we can find art that goes all the way back to 6,000 and more years ago. And art is a better way of finding out what's really going on with the truth than just through texts, because texts always have to fall to the level of the allegory. Art does not. And art is the way that source communicates to people directly in a much better fashion. And R.H. Waller de Lubitsch, who studied ancient Egypt, realized that the ancient Egyptians, they looked at all of nature, and they determined by looking at nature that they could figure out everything from the spiritual all the way down to the mental, all the way down to the physical pieces of the universe. So by paying attention to nature and what nature is actually telling you, it's actually writing to you in a form of hieroglyphs. So what we'll see is when we take a look at some of these images that go all the way back and we compare them, we get a truth about what's going on. So that is what our part of this alchemy is alchemy helps us through images, through art, through the alchemical drawings that we find from the old sages that date all the way back to ancient Egypt and even beyond. These types of things are what help us get to the truth. Now, right here I am on the Sephirothic tree. This is the Qabalah Sephirothic tree. And what we have here is it says the Sephirothic tree is sometimes depicted as a human body, thus more definitely establishing the true identity of the first or heavenly man, Adam Kadmon. The first man, Adam Kadmon, the idea of the universe. The 10 divine globes, Sephiroth, are then considered as analogous to the 10 sacred members of the organs of the protogonist. Protogonist means the firstborn of the infinite. According to the following arrangement, Kether is the crown of the prototypic head and perhaps refers to the pineal gland. So when we place the human body on top of the tree of life, Kether, which is the pineal gland, that's in the head. Hokmah and Bina are the right and left hemispheres, respectively, of the great brain. Well, what is the great brain? Well, the ancients believed that we had 7 planets that went in order, from the Earth to the Moon, to Mercury, to Venus, to the Sun, to Mars, to Jupiter, to Saturn, which is the first one in the Trinity, and in the Zohar, it defines Saturn as a star. But the Trinity extended all the way down to Saturn. Above Saturn we had the fixed stars, and above the fixed stars we had the great brain, and that refers to Kether. The Kether, the great brain, refers to the nebula, and we can also see this defined as Kether when we take a look at the Ladder of Lights by William G. Gray. But we can also take a look at symbolism. First of all, let's take a look at what we have right here. Now, these are all old pieces of art. Some of them are fairly new, but there are old ones. For example, this one that you see right here as Osiris is older. What you see as far as the other ones, going from left to right, Yaldabaoth, what do we see there? A sun and a moon. Osiris, a sun and a moon on either side, with the eye in the middle. Jesus, sun and the moon, and Jesus' face in the middle. Mithras, sun and the moon, Mithras in the middle. Then we have Yahweh, or God, or whatever you want to call him, and that is in the middle. That is actually the Adam Kadmon. And then down below on the right there, you see the sun and the moon on either side, and you see the same thing as you see in Osiris that you see on the upper left there. The trapezium of the Orion Nebula, which represents the beginning or birthplace of man, represents the pineal gland, just like we read in the Sephirothic tree. So as spirit moves from its place in the universe down into the material world, the first place that it births is what you have is the pineal gland, and that's what the trapezium represents. Let's take a look at the next image here. The next image here, we'll just take a look at some of these. We've seen Yaldabaoth. Let's take a look at that one first. There's an image of Yaldabaoth. The sun and the moon on either side, representing the Orion Nebula. Placed a throne for it in the middle of the cloud. Now let's take a look at another one. Here's an old 6,000-year-old tablet. We have the sun on one side, the moon on the other, the winged disk in the middle. And what is the winged disk? Well, the winged disk, we know, is also the Orion Nebula proven by geometry. So we can take a look at the geometry of this and we can see that it's proven that way. The next one what we have is the Great Brain. This is actually the Great Brain that we see right here, the Orion Nebula. And as you can see, I have the parts of the people inside of it for you so that you can see it as well. Zoom out, we're looking at a brain in right profile, and this is what Michelangelo painted for us. And then finally, before I give you the rest of the video, called Crucifixion, which contains many images that date back to all the way back to the 1st century and even farther. We have Jesus on the cross, and we have the sun and the moon on either side. What you see in the alchemical drawing there is the feather being weighed against the heart. The heart is weighed against the feather of truth. And what is representing there is the mind. And the birth of the divine child is at the pineal gland, where the crucifixion is located, and that is actually called Golgotha. And Golgotha in Aramaic means place of the skull. So with that, I leave you the following video, Crucifixion.